Anyway, we're getting to two memes today. I thought that one would have been cute because we're starting to get towards fall or autumn, as I found out the British prefer to say. Anyway, so today's silver price is $29.71. So getting close to I believe close to all-time highs. Oh no, all-time high was $47. Oh shoot, I thought it was 30. Well, recent all-time high in past couple of years at least, since 2020. So that's good. For some reason my Bitcoin price went away. You'll have to forgive me for some audio issues. I've changed my setup, so now I'm standing. So if I get real quiet, I do apologize. I'm kind of still be adjusting to this. Anyway, Bitcoin is on sale right now at $59,095. No, $59,095. So yeah, Bitcoin's on sale. If you get your paycheck this weekend, hopefully it will stay that low, or so you can pick up some on sale. Moving on to space news, Orbex is working towards its first 2025 launch. 2025 first launch. Man, I probably should have done some vocal warm-ups or something, but Orbex is now projecting a 2025 first launch of its small launch vehicle, with plans to focus on the small end of the market, even as competitors shift to larger rockets. In an interview during the Farnborough International Air Show in July, Phil Chambers, chief executive of the United Kingdom-based company, said the company was making progress on both its prime small rocket and launch site at Sutherland Spaceport in northern Scotland. Oh, that's pretty cool. We expect the spaceport to be ready in the early spring of next year, he said. Vehicle subsystems are going through critical design reviews, with some flight hardware under construction. We are shooting for a 2025 launch, he said, but declined to be more specific about a launch date, other than to say that the company wanted to avoid a launch in winter because of poor weather conditions. But I do want it to be in 2025. Yeah, the winters get pretty cold up in northern Scotland? Is that what he said? Yeah, northern Scotland. Yeah. So that's pretty cool. It's a smaller spaceships, so it looks like it'll be more along the lines of small satellites and possibly even resupply for the next generation of the ISS, which I don't actually. Let me look that up right now. ISS. Okay, so from the generative AI that comes installed with Brave Search. So several entities have announced plans to develop commercial space stations to replace the International Space Station in the future. Here's some key developers. Axiom Space, a Houston-based company. First commercial space station. Initially is an expansion of the ISS, but once it retires, the modules will be separated and become independent, free-floating commercial. Really? That's cool. Private sector commercialization, which is essentially what Axiom Space is. Russians. Roscosmos has recommended continuing to participate in the ISS until 2024, then separating the Russian modules to form the basis of its own space station. However, NASA has not confirmed any plans for a joint successor with Russia. Interesting. So yeah, the ISS is going to be retired because its orbit is decaying too much to be worth pushing higher, I think is what it is. Yeah, but anyway, if you're looking to push things higher, CZ... I don't know if CZs are any particularly bit better than Glocks or anything, because I've never actually fired a CZ. If any bros who are around would like to come show off their CZ, play show and tell, I would really like that. Anyway, CZ goes optics ready with its new P09 Nocturne. So, if you are a CZ fanboy and you want to have actual modern sights instead of what was invented by John Moses Browning 4 billion years ago, this might be a good buy for you. Speaking of John Moses Browning, he actually has a museum in Utah. And speaking of Utah, Utah goes to the Supreme Court to challenge BLM's claim to unappropriated public lands by Greg Haas. Utah filed a complaint on Tuesday asking the U.S. Supreme Court to weigh in on who really owns public lands, challenging federal ownership of 18.5 million acres of unappropriated land in the state. It's a bigger question for Utah, where the federal government owns about 69% of the land, but it's an even bigger question for Nevada, where just over 80% of the land is federally owned. More federal control of the land is through the Bureau of Land Management, BLM, the U.S. Forest Service, and National Park Service. Utah is challenging the BLM's claim to millions of acres under the Federal Land Policy Management Act. Utah argues that there's nothing in the Constitution that gives the government the right to reserve that land, but the Denver-based Center for Western Priorities quickly labeled Utah's argument as a waste of time and money. Governor Spencer Cox and the state legislature need to make a U-turn before they waste millions of taxpayer dollars enriching out-of-state lawyers on this pointless lawsuit. What a fag. I'm sorry, YouTube. Boop. This lawsuit isn't worth the paper it's printed on. Yeah, the gay boys are upset. Okay, cool. Yeah. So it looks like that's about it. That'll be interesting to see if it goes through or if it was just unfortunately, I suspect it was just a bit of like a rallying cry. Because, we're coming up on election season. A lot of politicians will do that. Where they'll be like, oh, look, see, I'm going to finally go about I'm going to finally go about do and put up the bills and do the things that you wanted me to do. So you vote for me. Because if you don't, then I was just going to go through. But on the other side of things, because this is White Pill Wednesday, it's a good thing that this is how they think that they're going to get more support. That they think that they're going to get more support by, challenging the federal government's ownership of lands. Yeah. End of statement. I don't know how much else to add to that. So, coming from Reddit Lies on Twitter, from the thread, no, it's not thread, from the whatever. Am I the asshole for feeling like my wife's new religious beliefs are unfair to me in our marriage? My wife, 30 female, and I, 30 male, have been married for a few years, and up until recently, religion wasn't a significant part of our lives. I've always considered myself agnostic, and my wife wasn't particularly religious when we first got together. However, about 6 months ago, my wife started getting more involved in Catholicism, and it's been causing increasing tension in our relationship. The main issues revolve around sex and contraception. Because we're not married in the church, she now believes that we shouldn't be having sex, even though we're legally married. She also wants to stop using contraception, which makes me really uncomfortable, because it feels like it's forcing me into a position where having children becomes almost inevitable, a path I'm not ready or willing to take. I've been struggling with how drastically these changes are affecting our relationship. It feels like religion is suddenly dictating aspects of our marriage that we used to navigate together, and that's really hard for me to accept. I didn't sign up for a life where religious rules determine such personal aspects of our relationship, and I'm finding it increasingly difficult to reconcile these changes with my own beliefs and values. I care about my wife deeply, but I feel like the dynamic of our relationship has shifted away in a way that's unfair to me. I've tried to be supportive, but I can't help but feel that this isn't the life I envisioned for us when we got married. Am I the asshole for feeling like this is unfair and for struggling with the impact of her new religious beliefs are having on our marriage? And here, Nathar here is like, forcing me to have kids? When do men become such neutered losers? The desire to have descendants should be a universal masculine drive. Give your wife babies. It's not that complicated. Well, I'm 30 and not ready to have children. Do people even recognize how incongruous this is? All human history before 1960s and the pill. So, the white pill to be pulled out of this is that people are starting to turn back more towards God in however method that they're doing it. That's great. And it's making agnostics and atheists on Reddit cringe, seethe, and cry. Speaking of cringing, seething, and crying, the UK government. Blade runners in London are now dressing up as highway workers to discreetly uninstall ULEZ cameras without being detected. So if you don't know, ULEZ stands for Ultra Low Emission Zones, where essentially the British government is finding people for driving their cars too much. So there's this group called the Blade Runners. So they didn't call themselves that. The government gave them that name, thinking that I don't know what they were thinking. That's like the coolest name ever. If you want to, stop people from being naughty, then don't give them the sickest name. Anyway, so yeah, they've been like just straight up sawzalling light posts, and here they are just as construction workers, just popping them down, which is great, awesome. We love to see it. Keep it up, England. You lads are great. Well, actually, this is Welsh. That's a Welsh flag. Anyway, that's about all I have for today. I'm going to go to the gym, and I'm going to do arms. I've been doing actually, just recently, I was doing a bunch of dry fire practice with both my Glock and my AR. So that was my arm is a little bit sore from doing that. Just the constant repetitions. I did it for like 30-something minutes. Yeah. So that's all I got. I'm going to the gym. I hope you do something similar as well, and I hope you have a really good day. Adios.
And we say bye-bye.